So, I thought I may as well just go live sooner, just to compensate for the lack of internet that happened earlier on. Don't know why. It could have been a VPN issue. But, anyways, welcome to tonight's live, gang. Bitcoin Mania. Now, usually the word mania means euphoria and excitement. Oh my God, Bitcoin and all of that. Tonight's live, I'm going to try and dive into something that could it lead to that possibility. We've got the biggest event happening tomorrow, and we're not too far away to the start of the second quarter where earnings season is going to start kicking off. And we're going to know the difference between a good earnings season or recession that's going to hit in the earnings as opposed to the US economy. As it stands right now, the Federal Reserve is in wait and see mode. That's the story. So tomorrow, FOMC ain't going to be so great. Is Powell going to reveal anything? You see, the problem that the Federal Reserve has got is the economy is still sustaining itself. And they can't really cut the interest rates unless the economy is suggesting that they need to. Every speaker, Besson, anyone that mentions the economy, it's going good. Is it going good? Thank God inflation on eggs has gone down. I mean, is that really going to dictate what your economy's saying? If inflationary prices on eggs have come down, I mean, come on. But tonight we're going to dive into a few things. We've got a brilliant price projection from Kathy Wood, and I seriously think that you should consider this because it's a little while away, but it's a valid project. It's a good projection, for the better word. So if you are new to tonight's live stream, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you stick around because earlier on, I did say I was going to talk about a very important chart with regards to the number of cryptocurrencies that are trading below the 50-day moving average. And I didn't manage to get into that, but I'm going to be diving into it tonight. What a guy, man. I actually had intentions of doing it. And then, of course, the internet ended up going crazy. And we've got a new little slogan, guys. It's mad lag and respect. That is hilarious. So my guy, that was funny. Tino's bearish. Oh my God, bro, please stop it. I'm not bearish. Okay, then. So no, you know what? Game over. I've got 5 of the same one. I've got 5 of these jackets. So it's not the same one, but I've got a lot of these jackets. So I mean, yeah. So never mind. Anyway, why is that relevant? It's not relevant. Let's get with the program. But I'm firstly going to introduce you to something here. This is important. I can appreciate that probably most of you have Chrome wallets installed on Google. Okay, most of you probably use Google. All right. Now, it says here that Microsoft is identifying a new malware threat targeting Chrome crypto wallets. Just be careful, man. Apparently, it says Microsoft discovered Stilachi Rat. Stilachi Rat, a Trojan targeting crypto wallets on Chrome. Security measures are necessary due to its ability to steal data and credentials. So if you guys are using Chrome, whether you're using MetaMask or any other extensions that you can attach to put your crypto wallets in, just be careful, man. It's just get rid of it and put it in cold wallets. I'm not even going to get into the conversation about is really cold wallets safe? Are they? I mean, is it your keys? If you were given a key, never mind. I'm not going to discuss that anymore. Now, let's get into what's going on. So, when I read these articles, it makes me laugh, right? When I look at these articles, I only really like to read this, okay? Because if I can't understand what Bloomberg are saying from this information right here, then I don't know what I'm doing in a nutshell. So let's put it like this. When you read these articles, all right, over time, you'll start to understand it. But when you read a title like that, it puts things into perspective. So I'm going to explain to you exactly what I see. Stocks hit by tech rout on eve of Fed. Now, NVIDIA have just recently announced that they're going to be doing this new computer, NVIDIA Qt Digits, an AI desktop coming this summer, all right? Now, given that, NVIDIA didn't really do too well today. Came in at minus 3.4%. So it's not really doing too well for a very big tech stock. And of course, with such a massive market cap and an announcement of this, everyone's now going to turn around and think, okay, there's a good chance that this thing is going to be pretty expensive. Reading the article says here that the new name for NVIDIA's $3,000 mini max size world's smallest AI supercomputer. I mean, to be honest with you, you're paying about $3,000-$4,000 or £3,000-4,000 for a decent laptop, okay, with a decent graphics card so you can do more things on it, all right? So it seems like it's a decent price, but it's still expensive if people want to get into it. I mean, what about if your child says to you, Daddy, I want a digits compute for NVIDIA? And you're like, how much is that, son? And he's like, $3,000. He's getting 3,000 slaps across the face. Anyways, with that being said, going back into it, stocks hit by a tech rout on eve of Fed decision day. So what does that tell me? Well, do I already know what's going on with the Federal Reserve? Yes, I do. What is it? Well, the expectation is wait and see mode, all right? They have this wait and see mode because the Federal Reserve is paying close attention to the fact that the US economy is still performing well. Even though inflation is up, they will only cut the rates if economy is doing bad, and it's not, according to the data. So when you actually look at these articles and you read these headlines, these are the headlines that are impressionable on investors. So what we look at this is we see it as, okay, stocks have been hit. So there's been a lot of selling and people are going to feel like they need to sell their stocks at the eve of the Federal Reserve, the FOMC press conference. So already I'm sensing that investors have a negative expectation. I take that expectation and then start going into it. It says here, Bank of America survey shows biggest ever drop in US stock allocations. So where are they planting their money? And it's not in stocks. But according to Besant, it says that the economy, no reason for recession, economic data is healthy. You're just about to put tariffs and tax in everyone. You're going to disrupt economies with these tariffs. And they are going to be coming into play on April the 2nd, unless something stupid and miraculous occurs before April 2nd, where everybody's in agreement with something. And the only thing that we have to worry about is the potential for escalations in war with Israel and, of course, Russia and Ukraine story. No reason for a recession. You're telling me the US isn't going to experience a recession with these significant interest rate increases, decreases, and this mad amount of liquidity that is currently, it's just all over the spot. We already know that there's a spread between the yields. So why is this important? As it stands, the 2-year yield is at 4.04%. As it is with the 10-year, you've got 4.285%. So the spread in principle is starting to narrow out on the yields, which is what you really want to see. You want to see the spreads between the 10-year and the 2-year be relatively close to give you the idea that liquidity is okay in the marketplace. But as the spread starts to widen between the yields, it's showing you that liquidity is not really coming into the market, which explains why a lot of people are risk off right now. They're moving into safer havens. Now, going into the calendar this evening, we do have the Bank of Japan's policy rate coming out. Now, there is no fixed time when they're actually going to do it. Okay, so let me just pull that up for you. Where is my article about that bad boy? Where are you? Here we go. 52 out of 52 economists surveyed that they expect the Bank of Japan to remain on hold this week. All right, so that's pretty much good news for us. What does that mean? Well, it means that investors can now still borrow Japanese yen and effectively sell it and then convert it into dollars, which effectively means that the dollar could effectively be in line for a potential recovery back up. The dollar is in negative territory and it has depreciated quite significantly. But of course, from the high of 108, where was it? Look at that. The high of 109. Yeah, 109.5. Yeah, it took a nice move down and it's lost its purchasing power. And that's all being because of President Trump and his tariffs and all these changes that have been happening with the economy. But hold on a second, Tino. Hold on. Dollar dominance is down. Fundamentally, shouldn't Bitcoin be up? Shouldn't it be up? Is that not what we look at? If Bitcoin is purchased against the dollar, that means there's two types of value going off there. There's people's expectation of what they think Bitcoin should be priced at and what they're happy to pay for it. And there's the expectation as to whether or not people believe that the dollar is useful right now to either buy something or sell something. In other words, if I believe now is a good time to start buying Bitcoin, I look at my dollar and I see it's appreciated by 2%. So I know I'm getting 2% purchasing power on the dollar. So I'll go and get myself some Bitcoin. because I'm earning myself effectively 2% purchasing power with my dollars when I exchange them over to Bitcoin. Lately, we've seen the dollar go to 9%. Wouldn't that surely would that not have triggered a move in Bitcoin when the dollar peaked out at 9.5%, giving massive amounts of purchasing power? Fundamentally, Bitcoin should have been trading higher. But obviously, something's happening in crypto and it doesn't make sense. Where's your cycles? Everyone's trying to fall into the idea that all these cycles are coming into play and everything's exciting. You don't worry. I mean, look, the greatest price projection ever. You ready? Here we go. So Kathy Wood says that Bitcoin is going to hit 1.5 million by the year 20,230. And she says that we are halfway through the cycle and Bitcoin is still in a bull market. What are your thoughts on that, ladies and gentlemen? 20,230. Of course, it's a typo. She's talking about a Bitcoin at 2030. It's only 5 years from now, all right? Which happens to align with the Federal Reserve and the Crypto Strategic Reserve and the purchase bill of 200,000 Bitcoin every single year for a whole 5 years to amount to the amount of $1 million worth of Bitcoin. Okay, so 1 million Bitcoin. So yeah, maybe in 20,000 years. What on earth is going on there? But never mind. There are boomer moments, you know? So with that being said, going into what's been happening today to put things into perspective. And if you are new, here is the chart that I'm talking about very, very shortly. So make sure you stick around for this. Okay. Now, going into it, Bitcoin today been very, very interesting. And it's just typical for FOMC. All right. You've got Bitcoin. It did make a move down. It swept the liquidity lower. It made a little bit of a recovery back up to recover that range. And it was a bit of a tricky one today in terms of the setups because the setup was initially to sweep the Bitcoin lows. We had a stop of around 80,940. Didn't take that stop, but Bitcoin did reverse to recover everything back up. Didn't take the TPs that we wanted, but there was an opportunity to exploit that movement because that's what you've got to wait for with this. You've got to wait for the Brinks box to create itself if you come to the chart at that time. And if you're looking to see when Bitcoin's making a move lower, or whatever move it's making, and you're seeing it developing before the Brinks box completes, then you're going to be setting yourself up for a potential stop out because it's the time when they effectively set up the range. Okay. Now, if you don't know what the Brinks box is, just go and take this free course on the hybrid system. It's on the Traders Reality website. And of course, if you want to go check out the information on the Brinks box strategy, which is the PDFs that I provide for all the platinum memberships. All right. So if you're a platinum member, you get access to the checklist that I created. I've created quite a few checklists on a number of strategies with the hybrid system. So you've got that by your side so that you can check it out and refer to it as a textbook, point to point, what you need to look for with the hybrid. Okay. Now, Bitcoin has swept the lows. Okay. We go to the daily time frame and we have a look that most of cryptocurrency coins right now are trading below the 50-day. So this is the 50-day moving average, all right? Forget the cloud bit. This is just like a volatility band, but it does serve you when you understand how to use it. Take the free course. It gives you an understanding of that, all right? It's in the description. You'll be able to access it. Now, in front of you is this chart. This is the percentage of cryptocurrencies that are above the 50-day moving average. I am not going to give you any hype here. I'm not going to give you excitement. I'm giving you logic because you need to have logic when you're dealing with these sort of environments in the marketplace. You're all speculators, all right? Everyone is trying to get rich quick, and it doesn't work like that. What you've got to try and do is you've got to try and position yourself so that when you speculate, you are improving the probability of being right by taking in information and looking at both sides of the story. If you just look at an indicator that says buy, you are eliminating a lot of information that you need. Indicators somewhat don't really consider the macros. How does an indicator that says buy and sell, which is designed to just look at the information that it has and its information that is delayed, okay, and it's lagging information, how does that factor in the idea of the future? It doesn't. So when you're marrying up an idea about whether you should buy Bitcoin or not, come to the macros because it's all right now geopolitically influenced. We don't care about the macros when the interest rates are down. We don't care about the macros when inflation is down. We don't care about the money supply when it's all good and it's up there and they're printing and everything is fine. We don't care about it when credit is easily accessible. We don't care about the macros when earnings season is showing unbelievable great results from all companies. We don't care about macros when the Nasdaq and the S&P are accumulating accumulation days where volume from institutional investors is plowing into the marketplace and it's happening every single day. You don't need macros when things are good, but you're coming into an event where they're changing the way the macros are going to be perceived. Interest rate cuts, especially for the US. And what we're going into, ladies and gentlemen, into tomorrow is the deciding factor as to whether or not we are going to get the cuts. Going into articles about it that I said earlier on, says here, sticky inflation and higher inflation expectations raise the bar for the Fed cuts. And this is what Lauren said at New York Life Investments. The Fed is likely to need to see a stronger deterioration in financial conditions and the economic growth outlook before preemptively cutting inflation with inflation figures so strong. So you're dealing with inflation that is high. You're dealing with a macro that's going to impact whether or not people will be buying Bitcoin or not. From the perspective of Bitcoin, the ETF is still showing stability, okay? And ARK coming out with her price projection, it makes sense because she's been pretty busy the last 24 hours buying and selling Bitcoin and ETF and moving money about. But just because she says that, she says a lot, okay? I can look at that and be like, oh, that's optimistic. What cycle are you talking about? Okay, whatever you're saying, fine. What do you think she's making her assumption on? She's got a time frame, and it's not the daily time frame, and it's not the 15-minute time frame, it's not the 1 minute time frame. She's looking at the quarterly time frame. She's on years and months, okay? She looks at the average yearly return. She's not interested in day trading cycles, okay? What BlackRock does with the ETF over 2 days has got nothing to do with what's going on with Bitcoin. You've got to look at it over a quarterly basis. So when you're looking at the inflows and the outflows, you've got to look at it from the perspectives of a quarter. How much have they been buying and how much have they been selling? And it's clear as day that we're seeing quite a bit of selling happening on the ETF. Okay? So that's something that you take into consideration, but that's being married up with the idea of what's going on from the macro perspective. So now going back into this chart shows you the number of cryptocurrencies that are above the 50-day moving average. There isn't any. That's a good sign. Most cryptocurrency coins are trading below the 50-day. You can see it's pretty self-explanatory. When it's above the red line, it means that there are a lot of cryptocurrencies above the 50-day. When it's below the green line, it means that there's a lot of cryptocurrencies that are below the 50-day. So by the principle of law of averages and mean reversion cycles and deviations away from moving averages, the logic says that we could effectively be getting primed for a potential recovery up. When? It's going to be decided on the next bouts of data. Of course, Bank of Japan are going to say to us that they're going to be keeping interest rates at the current levels. It's what they say about the future that's going to get investors concerned. Because you might wake up this evening and find that everything has dropped. And you then find out that Bank of Japan haven't increased their interest rates. So you're wondering, why have they dropped? Why has everything dropped across the board? And then you only later find out that Bank of Japan's raiders turned around and said, yeah, we're not cutting the interest rates, or we're not going to increase the interest rates, but we are going to increase them 3 times in the next 2 quarters or the next 4 quarters, whatever it is, hypothetically speaking. Okay. So that's what you've got to be mindful of. You're getting 2 adjustments in interest rates, and interest rates dictate value. Interest rates dictate whether I should go into Bitcoin or whether I should go into the US bonds. Okay. That's what you're looking for, ladies and gentlemen. So before you buy or sell Bitcoin, pay attention to what these things are doing. What's investor sentiment saying? We know the stock market is getting smacked. It's trying to come away from these lows. Few leverage traders, institutional leverage traders, are plowing into these zones to take advantage of a relief rally. The volatility index is starting to show some interesting behavior. And as I said before, your volatility index, You will only really want to put serious money down when the volatility index is moving above 30. That's my honest opinion to you all. People are like, Bitcoin up or down? Right, here's your chart that will tell you about it. It's right in front of you. The volatility index. Looking into the options, okay? What are people getting primed for? We're seeing some micro strategy options coming in. 4.9 million buy calls and 2.7 million buy calls. We go down, we're seeing quite a bit of green. Lots of buy calls on micro strategy. 3.5, 2.9, 2.9, 2.95, and then 2.6. All right, seeing some Google sell puts coming into play. All right, but what I am noticing is that there's less sell, or should I say puts coming into action than there is calls. All right, so that tells me that people have a positive expectation about tomorrow's information from the Federal Reserve. That's really going to help you understand how to approach tomorrow when it comes to the FOMC. You know? Any questions on that, ladies and gentlemen? Because I'm going to get into that story with this chart right here. The 50-day. Logic is saying that we could be in for a very interesting move with crypto across the board. Look at how long they have spent below moving averages. They've spent a long time. Go over into the totals chart. Where is it? So this factors in, this counts Bitcoin and Ethereum, okay? So what do we see? Most altcoins are trading below the 50-day moving average. We can see that is clear right there, okay? And they have done for quite some time. Problem we've got is this. You've got this last zone down here, which pretty much puts us at around $602 billion as market cap. I think if it does continue to go down towards that point, that's going to, it's going to concern people. But again, look at the point that it's going to go to. It's going to go to the last point of accumulation that Bitcoin had before it made this rally to the upside. Okay? Going over into Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance is getting primed, man. It's going to make that move up to 63.30. I'm waiting for that. There's going to be an influx. Because Bitcoin trading at these lows right here, okay, I'm still expecting the vector to come into play. I'm talking on a bit of a wider range right now, okay, in terms of time. But for Bitcoin to really make the move, you do need to see the sweep. They need to attack the liquidity. They need to attack it to then make the reversal back up again. And the problem that we might have is whilst everything's doing what it's doing in terms of the interest rates and what have you, I genuinely believe Bitcoin is just going to be going sideways. You're going to get this behavior, all right? Which is why you've got to say to yourself, when you're buying and selling Bitcoin, you want to do it for short term. Because if investors are feeling it in terms of short term, that means the 2-year yield and the 10-year yields, you can see that they're in and out. These yields need to stay flat. We don't want this volatility in the yields. All we want to do is we want to see it continuously going down and then leveling out. That means when the 10-year bonds market is moving up and then consolidates and stays where it is, it means that investors are happy with that rate of return and they want to just put their money into the low risk, and they also want to put their money into high risk, which is the stock market. That's when Bitcoin's really going to see the benefit. But from a macro perspective, we're not there yet. We don't have a volatility on the index, on the volatility index. We don't have any rate cuts. We've got quantitative tightening coming to an end, but we yet haven't got the interest rate cuts. So you're asking yourself why the cycle, or is the cycle, is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? Because that's all we're asking. It's the when. But what you've got to focus on is the behavior of where money is going. Is it going into Bitcoin? Oh, it looks like it's going into the bonds. Investors are concerned. Investors are actually pretty concerned. Look at your gold. That's where your money's going, ladies and gentlemen. All money is going into gold. And the people that don't buy gold are sat on the sidelines, and they're just going into smaller investments or low risk investments. Look at gold, $3,034. That is wild. Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen? Does that make sense to you all? Any questions? Try and keep this live short and sweet with no interruptions. Here we go. Dino, Crypto Princess wants to interview you. Who the hell is Crypto Princess? Who is Crypto Princess? Crypto Princess. Who is Crypto Princess? I ain't getting it. This is not Crypto Princess. Never mind. Anyways, questions, other questions. Talk to me. What happens if Japan increases the interest rates? Can this be a black swan event? Listen, if Bank of Japan pull a dirty on us and say, yeah, we're going to increase the interest rates tonight, we're going to put it out there. Do you understand the turmoil that will happen? But the thing is, they did that last time. They said they were going to increase the interest rates, and they did on the 31st of July. The market's corrected on the 5th of August. So I don't think they'll do it straight away. Any other questions? Tina, is the petrodollar still relevant? I mean, oil does still have influence on the dollar, or is it getting out of control? Listen, the petrodollar story is getting a little bit out of control. If you just look at the way oil is, I mean, there is decent volatility right now with oil, okay? But that's on the 15-minute time frame. When you actually look at oil on higher time frames, you can see what you're working with. You're just working with madness. It's just choppy as hell. It's not really doing anything. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm going to give you a tip on oil, it loves the vectors. It always goes back to it. You can assume that they're going to try and make a recovery back up at some point with these vector candles, all right? And you take those plays and those bets because it just respects the vectors. But it's because there's indecision continuously with oil. What's China doing? China ain't doing nothing, man. Your oil's at $66 a barrel. China ain't doing anything. That's why China's plowing money into the marketplace. It's not active. It's not busy. Okay, the economy is slowing down, and you got tariffs on top. Man, never mind. Tina, my gran wants to come to your live stream. Your gran? Oh, fair enough. I don't swear. I haven't sworn. Tomorrow will be the Black Swan event. Nah, it's very unlikely. Tina, do you think the spot ETFs have made Bitcoin more correlated to stock movements? Yeah. Of course it has. Because who's buying the ETF? Listen, no one in crypto... Listen, when the ETF came out, what was all that hype about in the start? I ain't buying the ETF. Not my keys, not my coin kind of story. I ain't doing that. Why am I going to do that? I'll just go and buy Bitcoin. That was the culture. So we know people in crypto ain't buying the ETF. So who's buying the ETF? They're trying to push it. JP Morgan's analysts were just pushing out the ETF to their clients. You should take advantage of this. You could take advantage of this. All right, John, how you doing? Yeah, it's been good, man. What's been going on with that silver trade of yours? It's been good. Listen, I got an idea for you. About Bitcoin. Oh, yeah, that digital money, is it? Yeah, well, listen, we got an ETF. And Steve obviously knows about ETFs because his portfolio is filled with them because $7 trillion is right now in the money markets because investors are a little bit, hey, what's going on with the marketplace, man? That's where your Bitcoin ETF is going. It's going to those guys, right? So, excuse me. Steve has a portfolio, right? It's made up of around 50% ETF purchases. And then he's got about 30% of it in bonds and he's got 20% of it in cash. All right. Now, his ETF purchases are made up of several types of ETFs. You've got the iShares Paris Saint-Germain, which is made up of a load of tech stocks. And then you've got other, the VTIs and the VNDs and all the other ETFs that you could get hold of. All right. That's his portfolio right there. And on top of that, he's chucked in a little bit of Bitcoin. Okay. Now, he's got his broker on the blower saying to him, listen, the market could be going in for a correction. What do you want to do? All right. And he's like, all right, I tell you what, let's get rid of some of the ETFs, actually convert some of the ETFs that we've got exposure in high exposure ETFs, such as the iShares Paris Saint-Germain or any tech-based ones. Get rid of those and then start buying me bond-based ETFs, please, because I want to diversify. He's like, okay, cool. What do you want to do with your Bitcoin one? Just get rid of that, man. Get rid of that. It's too choppy for me. I see it. It's always up and down. I don't like it. Those are the people that are buying and selling your ETF. And where they see the stock market is how they will treat Bitcoin as well. That's the problem with Wall Street. Like I said before, your idea about decentralization is done because you need the US government to pump your coin. Done. You had to wait for Donald Trump to say crypto strategic reserve. Sells you a beautiful story, but your idea of crypto right now is done. It is. Because you guys in crypto ain't here for it. They've made their money. They've chipped. They ain't playing the holding game. You got your sailor boy who's just buying up loads of it. Well, I'd buy as much of it as I could if I wasn't paying for it. So he's got to keep earning his money, hasn't he? Of course you're going to do it. What's the fundamental rule to be building wealth? Get someone else to pay for it. That's what it is. You buy a house, you mortgage it, you rent it off, let them pay the mortgage. Why are you paying for it? You get debt, you get people to pay your debt. And that's exactly what Saylor's doing. He's getting you guys, investors, to buy into the convertible bonds. I'm not condemning Michael Saylor. No, not at all. It's ingenious what he's done. It's not costing him anything to do it. So if it flops, what happens? Just goes down as a bad trade. That's it. Tina, were you involved in a BitConnect scam? What scam? I struggle to spell the word scam. Hey, Tito. Bro, it's a 4-letter word, man. How are you replacing the T with an N? Where in my name is there? I'm joking, man. It's all good. Tino, with the old cycle, with the ETFs, isn't it possible that the old cycles are pretty much dead because none of that money will get out of the stock market and rotate into low caps? Yeah, listen. Listen, this is important to understand. When stock market, when you see the small caps, when you see a rotation in the stock market, right? It tells you where investors' heads are at. So when you see the headlines and it says big tech moves up, big tech goes down, you know that money is either leaving tech or going into the big tech. So you know it's big money stocks, right? When you see small caps leading the rallies, that's no good. Because they are A, priced low, B, low market cap. And the reason why investors go to small caps is because ease of access as well. They can buy quite a bit of it and they can exploit it, take advantage of the quick volatility and come out of it straight away. When you've got a decent rally in the stock market or a proper bull run, both small caps and big caps are earning and moving with accumulation, with volume. We don't have that yet. That's what I'm trying to say. Tino, which DOM provides the best value for money, ExoCharts or Jigsaw? Also, does ExoCharts course lessons apply to Jigsaw platform? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. You're just looking at different things. One platform allows you to trade on it, the other doesn't. Okay, and ExoCharts is all about reading the intention and how I simplify it on that course very simplistically on what to look at visually, and you've got to watch it happen to understand what to look for. Okay. And you'll see it all the time. It's actually quite mad, the examples that I use, but you've got trading videos in that will tell you exactly what that is. There is no altcoin season. Wake up all. Okay. Fair enough. Any other questions, guys? Tino, did Bitcoin spot ETFs kill the alternate coin? Oh, right. Okay. This is a decent question. Tino, did Bitcoin ETF kill the alternate coins season because venture capitalists are diverting money to spot ETFs instead of coins projects? What a valid question. If VAs or venture capitalists are plowing into the Bitcoin spot ETF, what is it that they understand? Bitcoin up, crypto up. That's it. Especially when you've got bigger players that can influence it. JP Morgan can get all its clients to buy the Bitcoin spot ETF. It's already been done. They've already pushed it. So now that the seed has been planted, yeah. So that then asks you the question here. Why would anyone who has Bitcoin sell it to go to the altcoins? A minute ago, I was talking about this chart right here. And quite frankly, any coin outside of Bitcoin is a meme coin. It is. And you asking that question, venture capitalists ain't even investing in coin projects anymore. It makes sense why the crypto quant CEO did say that most altcoins ain't going to survive. The same way you get rotations in the stock market with money is the same way that you get rotations in crypto. Your crypto rotation with altcoin to Bitcoin. The Bitcoin dominance is getting up to a very significant point. That means the altcoin season is going to start, as much as I'd love that to be the case. This is a pain in the ass right here. It is. And it's going to stop it. It's going to stop that cyclical move. In my opinion, I think it has already stopped it. That means you're not relying on investors selling the Bitcoin to go into altcoins. You're now relying on investors to buy Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin's going up, everything goes up. Give me a day when cryptocurrency isn't doing good, when Bitcoin's doing good. Because people just look at it like this. Bitcoin's trading up 2%. So why is Ethereum down 7%? We don't have that anymore, which in essence is a good thing. But now you've got Bitcoin trading up 2%. Ethereum's trading up 1.9 or 2.8%. Solana is up 3%. XRP is just in the XRP formation. It doesn't have percentage gains or losses. It just doesn't do anything. Now investors are starting to come round to that and understand that. Just focus on Bitcoin. It's the only thing that anyone talks about. Give me a project that big people are talking about, that's up there with Bitcoin. If there's no coin being mentioned by the US government, all right, you got XRP and all that, that doesn't count. It's all Bitcoin. Sovereign funds, Bitcoin. Texas, Utah, Arizona, they all want to pass bills to get Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. I'm not trying to scare you off and sell your alts, man. I'm not trying to get you to do that. What I'm trying to get you to understand is this chart shows you that most coins are trading below the 50-day moving averages. And by the law of averages, it says that there's going to be an instance when they come back up. Will you get your parabolic moves in your altcoins? I think those days are, I think the pancake swap listing days are done. Now you've got a culture of going to pump.fun, see if you can get a meme coin on there. If you can take advantage of the pump, happy days. And that's it. That's my view, you know. World governments, they're already fighting for Bitcoin. They're already fighting for it. China was against Bitcoin. Now it's considering opening up the laws to allow it to happen, you know. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll call it a day. Tina, why have you got ICT in your basement? In my basement, bruv. Nah, man. Tino, should Bank of Japan increase the rates? What do you think the reaction of the Fed would be? Fed won't ever give anyone the impression that they've been coerced to do something. They won't. It'll never happen. If the Bank of Japan increased the interest rates, look at what happened when that happened. Powell didn't say nothing. They will never do that. Never. Tino sold everything for gold on January 20. It worked out. Time to sell some and return to Bitcoin and NASDAQ. Listen, you're not. Don't just don't do that yet. It's not financial advice. Just wait. Wait with gold, because gold's not done. Gold isn't done just yet. Just yet. Remember, they're trading the expectation of interest rates being cut. And if the Federal Reserve tomorrow says, yeah, we're going to cut interest rates, awesome. Gold will then continue to go up, but then there will be spikes lower because hedge fund managers want to exploit that. Okay? So they need to buy more gold as it comes down. All right? Tino, what do you think about market efficiency? But really, realistically, you've got to say to yourself, does the market repeat itself? Yes, it does. And what you've got to do is you've got to say to yourself, can I expose myself to that repetition as many times as I physically can by using light size? The less size I use, the more chances I get at exploiting the repetition of the marketplace. That's the sweet spot of trading, in my opinion. Anyways, mad love and respect. Enjoy your evening. And I'll be tuning into you all tomorrow. Like, subscribe. Don't miss out. Tomorrow's live. We've got FOMC, guys. It's going to be an interesting one. Take care of yourselves, gang. Peace. I'll wear something else tomorrow as well. I won't wear the jacket. He's a bit dead anyways. Here we go.